Toronto Blue Jays are about to break the MLB as following a huge signing in Dylan Cease. Some brand new reports have dropped revealing not only the Jays aren't done, but something bigger is coming, and these reports have fans absolutely fired up with brand new information as recent as late last night into this morning. But not only that, some new reports have dropped revealing the secret behind the Jays' ability to get a huge free agent such as Dylan Cease this early in the offseason. And this is just the beginning. You don't want to stay tuned because these details are absolutely crazy. A ton to go over on this episode, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get into it all, if you're a part of the percentage, you aren't subscribed to the channel, you guys have been absolute beasts with the support every single day. And you truly mean the world to me. So thank you guys, each and every one of you. Folks, a lot to go over today. And I say they're going to break the MLB for a couple of different reasons. And let's dive right into it. So, of course, Dylan Cease signed the biggest free agent contract in Toronto Blue Jays history at $210 million. I saw a lot of your guys' comments down there. Biggest free agency contract, because technically Vladdy wasn't a free agent. He was still under contract. Folks, there are some things to go over, and I want to dive into this first report here. So this is a report from Keegan Matheson. Simply put as this, and this is a good way to start the video. Are the Blue Jays still in on Kyle Tucker and or Bo Bichette? Keegan Matheson comes out and says, yes, they are, because the Blue Jays have the financial flexibility to be in on whoever they want. And while the Cease deal does lessen the unlikely odds of getting both, by no means does it eliminate them from the running to land a bat at the top of the market. Folks, this is exactly what you want to hear. And no matter what way you go about it, they have the ability to quote unquote break the MLB. And of course, what I mean by that is they have the ability to spend a ton of money. They could get Bo and Kyle Tucker, which would be ludicrous. You'd instantly, I think, jump to #1 payroll in the MLB from third, I believe they're at now, or maybe even second behind Steve Cohen. Regardless, they're behind the Dodgers as well. But regardless of that, you are in a fantastic spot. You have a top 5 payroll, right? Top 5 in the MLB. Of course, the Dodgers are ahead of the Jays, some other teams as well. You have the ability, the second richest owner behind Steve Cohen. You could argue that, in some ways, Rogers are richer. They can absolutely just go out and do whatever they want. And within this report, it says beyond the next, need for a big bat, the Blue Jays bullpen remains the next logical step. And I said in my video yesterday, keep an eye out on Edwin Diaz to the Jays. But you can see here, last winter, they brought back Jimmy Garcia on a 2-way deal. I was live when that happened. But this winter, they are expected to aim higher. And this is where player development, this is the key part here, quietly plays a role. Past Jays teams have needed to spend on bullpen, even if it came in smaller chunks. And now they're able to develop some of their bullpen arms so they can spend money elsewhere. But folks, this is the big thing. They are not only going to be in on Kyle Tucker. The fact that they were aggressive with the Dylan Cease contract means the front office, you can see another report here, so many of them, is sending a message. The front office is sending a message to the rest of baseball. The Blue Jays trip to the World Series is not just a blip, it's the new expectation, which now means that not only are reports flying that they're all in on Kyle Tucker still. Of course, my video yesterday covered them being all in on Bo Bichette. You have the ability now to pursue the elite relievers, pursue Tucker and Bo Bichette if you want to, and do both at once while still having Dylan Cease you just signed. It makes things interesting. But they also have other avenues if they don't want to go crazy. Let's say they want to extend Bo Bichette, or maybe they sign Kyle Tucker and they let Bo Bichette walk. You can now make the trade market a likelier avenue with, of course, Ketel Marte and others, who, of course, we'll be touching on. But John Heyman dropped a report here as well, and the Jays have been linked to Kyle Tucker. And despite no obvious need in the outfield, pitching is their real requirement, right? And this is, of course, a report right before they got Dylan Cease. But look at the bottom part. That's why I included this. Of course, they got that pitcher who was the real requirement. And this report is, of course, from before that. So a couple days ago. They're also eyeing a top closer and are seen as a serious player for Diaz and Suarez. So no matter what way you look at it now, they got the deal done November 26th. That is the earliest that they've gotten a massive deal done like this. They usually wait. They are preparing not only now to have their full focus on a bat. It is clear. It is a clear need that they need a big bat. Whether that be bringing Bo Bichette back, whether that be getting Kyle Tucker, whether that be getting somebody else through a trade that we're not, privy to knowing the information to, they're going to do whatever it takes to make this team elite, and they can spend the money to just dominate for years to come. Now, some more context was provided from Shai Davidi before I dive into some of the new details about the behind-the-scenes stuff with the signing. Shai basically went on, I want to say this here, The reason they signed Dylan Cease, reliable starting pitcher who doesn't miss starts, and that was the huge value to the Blue Jays. So the Cease deal makes total sense. And of course, they have a history with high walking guys turning a corner, Robbie Ray, etc. And he expects the Jays to keep pushing in the Bo and Kyle Tucker markets. Folks, you cannot get it better than this. You are still players for these guys. It's multiple different reporters now. Shai Davidi, Mitch Bannon, John Heyman, Keegan Matheson. Everybody is saying they're not done. And a lot of people thought that, hey, maybe by getting Dylan Cease, you're not going to bring Bichette back. Some, wild people were saying that. It's not the case. This team is ready to go, and they have one thing in their favor, which they hadn't necessarily had, at least to this degree, in the past. And it is a very interesting spot. It is something that Kevin Pillar tweeted about right after Dylan Cease. And he said that, and he talked about another quote, but I don't think the world-class facilities hurt. Ask any player in terms of treatment of your wife and kids, top-notch people, top-notch facilities, and of course the fact that they made the World Series. And Mitch Bannon goes on to say that one aspect mentioned to me, the impact of facility upgrades takes time, both drawing players and maximizing the new tools. Blue Jays are now 5 years from the PDC Reno and 3, PDC being Player Development Complex, and 3 from the new Rogers Center player facilities. Proof of concept exists, and a World Series appearance helps. So not only, we know the Rogers Center renovations if you're going to games, but the player development stuff has been talked about for years, and in theory, it hasn't directly translated to the top end free agents. This is the corner that was turned, and as bad as the World Series loss was, it is clearly having an effect on free agents. And this is finally the time where you have now 5 years of proof of concept for a lot of these player development complexes. You have now the playoff success. You basically won, I hate to say it, you almost won a World Series, inches away. Free agents see that. They see how many people love the city of Toronto. Players with kids, players with families, players who are planning on having kids, all these different things, players who don't want families, kids at all, whatever it is. They love Toronto, but also they're now way more likely to come to Toronto. And this is something that is sustainable beyond this offseason. It is going to be happening for years to come. The Jays spent money on Vladdy. You have your cornerstone superstar. You have your prospects, and your position player pool is looking pretty good. Not as good as some of the pitchers, but you have guys like Arjun Amala. You completely restocked your pipeline for prospects. All of these things matter. And to see where we are from, a year ago, where this time last year I was talking about Jimmy Garcia being signed, all these different things, complete 180. But don't forget the fact that you have all of these facilities that are now proofed. And the proof concept has already happened, revealing, hey, this is legit. You pair that with the fact that, at this point in time, the Jays look great. And you have some guys who are aging, like Springer, Varsho. They're both upcoming free agents. Is Springer going to be able to bounce back next year? Go all in, use these tools, break the MLB, get everybody annoyed, become the next Dodgers when it comes to spending. Who knows what's going to happen in 2027 with the lockout? It doesn't matter. Spend as much money as you as you possibly can. You have Ed Rogers, who, if you saw him when he thought they won the World Series in the IKF slide, feel free to go check out that clip if you haven't. He was celebrating. That's a guy who wants to win. He witnessed heartbreak, we all did, in the biggest way. But now with these new reports, folks, they're going after Edwin Diaz. They're going after these biggest free agents. And the timing being November 26th with a Scott Boras client who represents Tucker and Moore. This is the chance. They're no longer staying patient. They're no longer sticking necessarily to their valuations. They're going big, and they are ready to absolutely break the MLB and bring a World Series back to Canada.